It's been a week, so it's time to break open the green tea again. Now, tonight I'm going to do a broadcast. Change the format again, because there's some neat stuff that's come up. So it'll be a little bit of everything. The first one will be on Jupiter. I just became aware of the Juno mission that's arrived at Jupiter back in July of 2016. So it's been making passes in Jupiter, and it's an interesting instrument package because it's actually doing surveys of what Jupiter is really composed of. Because all we've seen, we know it's the largest gas planet in our solar system outside the sun, but we really don't know a whole lot about it, what's down in there. I mean, it's a lot of speculation, even though we can see the atmospheric phenomena on the outside of Jupiter. So it's still a kind of a strange, unknown planet. But it's been making passes since July 2016, and what they're discovering is that the planet darkens and takes on a bluer tinge as you go deeper into its atmosphere, which is kind of ironic because on the outer atmosphere you get those multicolored effect that you've seen in pictures since Voyager. Voyager took the best photos, but we've been looking at Jupiter since Hubble and some of the other telescopes in the last 100 years. We've got better pictures since Hubble because they've had some of the new advances in photographic techniques and stuff. We've actually got color pictures of it. But until Voyager hit Jupiter, we didn't really have any close-ups. We got some kind of black and whites from Pioneer, but they did do some photographs. But as you go down to the deeper part of the atmosphere, it starts turning blue, which is, there's as I said earlier, that all new stars are blue tinged. And something else to think about is that the ice up there in the Antarctic is also blue tinged. It's from some of that ice is maybe 1 million years old. I don't know the exact age, but it's blue because of the exposure to the sun. So, in modern science, it was speculated that Jupiter eventually could become the sun if you increase its size, which would explain, well, when you discovered that the planet is blue as you go deeper into its atmosphere. So if you grew it out and add more gas to it and add more gas to it, finally fusion would set in and you would get a nice pretty blue star. So now that scientific data has actually backed up that information, is that Jupiter could actually, if it was added on to, could become a blue star. So, why did ET put Jupiter out there? Well, they've discovered different reasons. It's kind of a vacuum in our solar system to clean out asteroids and stuff, so it gives the Earth some protection. That's one of the reasons why it was put out there. There was speculation in a Richard C. Hogan book that it's actually a power plant, and that's feeding off the chemical reaction within the gas there in Jupiter. But with this Juno mission, I would tend to wonder whether that's it. They've all got security clearances out of NASA, so are you going to know if that's what they discovered? NASA's still run by the military, so if they did discover that it is a power power plant and there's actually kind of a space station out there, you know, what's your chances of finding that out, you know? But it's also interesting, they discovered vortexes, and where the lower atmosphere in Jupiter cycles back and forth. Instead of like the Earth, which is, you know, a couple of miles, Jupiter's, since it's so huge, you're talking about, it cycles in about a half a planet. So you're talking these huge vortexes of gas that are doing this, just cycling back and forth in part of the atmosphere. And Saturn, they discovered Saturn has a single deep vortex centered at each pole. So Jupiter is kind of more of a different story. It's a lot bigger than that, than Saturn. So here again, you got you know, they've found some differences between the two planets. But Juno's mission is to map the planet's gravity field and microwave emissions, and kind of get a clue as to what's going on inside the atmosphere out there. Something they've discovered that Jupiter is more than 11 times wider than Earth, yet it spins around it in just under 10 hours. So it's actually spinning a lot faster than what the Earth is. It doesn't have a moon to counteract its atmosphere. That's one of the good aspects of why the moon is put out there. Otherwise, our atmosphere would be doing the same thing. It would be very harsh living conditions out here on the planet Earth. It's one of the reasons why we have a moon. But Jupiter doesn't have a moon to counteract, slow down the atmosphere. So, you know, and it's also spinning around at 10, you know, a lot faster. It's nothing to slow down the spin. You know. Something else they discovered is that is when the planet's rotation smoothed out its chemical composition of its atmosphere. When you look at pictures of Jupiter, there's rows and rows of just atmosphere, kind of a striped pattern. And they've discovered it's, you know, that with the Jupiter turning so fast, just 10 hours, you know, rotating within a 10-hour cycle, that's not happening, you know, because it's just like stirring coffee. You know, you stir it up and you get a nice smooth, instead of having that swirl look, you know, when the coffee is mixing in with the brown coffee, you get a nice kind of a tan, smooth look. And that's not what they discovered on Jupiter. They discovered that ammonia is reacting with the water. It's creating that phenomenon. So it's releasing energy into the surrounding gas, and you get a gas or higher rise in the atmosphere. The Great Red Spot is over 16,000 kilometers long, and it's also less than 300 kilometers deep. So they've got if you actually, with the Juno spacecraft, you get a good view of you know, the Jupiter's round like that, but you get actually kind of a cavity view of the Great Red Spot. You know, it's kind of a mysterious storm that's lasted over several centuries, and they never could explain that, because on the planet Earth, the hurricanes come and go. You know, they head toward a landfall and they just disappear into storms. But that's not the case on Jupiter. The red spot's been out there for centuries. there's not any real clear explanation as to what they discovered. But the outer atmosphere they've discovered is molecular hydrogen with ammonia clouds and ammonium hydrosulfide and water. And zonal flows, the belts and zones accompany the small structured vortices and turbulences. What they discovered is that when you get into start going down into the atmosphere, you get these many tiny tornadoes. It's not just one steady rotation or storm, because it's ringed on the outer edges, but you start getting these kind of like mini tornadoes, vortexes also, which you can't see if you're just looking at the outer atmosphere. So, you're actually learning a little bit more of what's down in Jupiter's atmosphere. And the deep atmosphere extends about 300 kilometers, 200 miles. So that's a lot of atmosphere, 200 miles. We don't have 200 miles of atmosphere to live in. But they think there are super Earths out there that are a lot bigger than our planet that might have a lot more atmosphere than what we have to live in. And the metallic mantle, which makes up the seal down in the center of Jupiter, they really don't understand, actually what is down there, if it's molten lava or it's just actually, what is the composition down here. They know it's a metallic mantle, and that mantle or heavier elements is also part of white dwarfs, which are, stars that blew their outer shells, and you have that liquid kind of mantle. And the only way to access that mantle is you have to blow up the white dwarf. So, there's clues out there that the reason why ET can use those to make new stars with, just bleed the outer. They already know that they can bleed the gas from a white dwarf, and it finally explodes around a larger blue star. They just move the white dwarf into close to a larger blue star, and then they bleed the gas off, and then the white dwarf finally explodes. And we know from studying Jupiter that you're going to get you can get your heavier metals and elements and stuff from that. So now you got heavier metals and stuff after that star explodes that ET might be able to utilize as far as creating planets and stuff. That has never been done. They don't have the kind of telescopes or observational limits in what they can see out there. But it would tell me that that's exactly that's what they're using in getting their heavier elements and stuff for creating new planets and stuff as part of the solar system. So that information kind of backs up what Jupiter is too, is it can become a star, and if it becomes a white dwarf, that big concentration of metallic metal and stuff, they might be able to use that as far as mixing that with asteroids and stuff and utilizing that to actually create a solar system. So it's backup information. Also know here's on Jupiter is its magnetic field is a lot stronger than the planet Earth, and its auroras are a lot more intense. The auroras go up could have potentially a 400,000 volts, 10 to 30 times larger than what is observed on Earth. So you get a huge magnetosphere, and you get a lot more intense auroras. And they've picked that up on pictures and stuff. So you get a pretty good, vision, look of studying auroras on Jupiter, because they're pretty intense, and they also last a lot longer. I'm going to break away from that and go with the, recently got my Edgar Casey quarterly here. If you've never been to the ARE Center, some of the stuff I've talked about in the craft and stuff, you will find out there in some of their lectures and stuff. So quite a bit of it you won't. They're more into a lot of herbal healings and stuff. You've never been introduced to Casey. Casey was one of their psychics back in the 1930s and 40s. He would go into a sleep trance, and he would get these readings, and people would ask him, send him stuff, and he would get readings, using their like herbal remedies for cures and stuff. And people kept on writing him and sending him envelopes, and sometimes he got cash donations and stuff. But he lived pretty frugal for a while, but he wouldn't get some money sent to him, and the foundation actually grew and eventually became a hospital. But a lot of these medical herbal cures and stuff worked. So it's not like it was he was some quack or something that his cures didn't work. They did work, and there's quite a few medical doctors out there that do lectures out at the ARE Center that use a lot of his remedy stuff, for curing stuff like flu, common colds. I use a lot of herbal remedies for just a cold, getting rid of a cold, or even a flu. We take too much, we get too much antibiotics in our meat and stuff. So it's not really healthy. I mean, you go to the medical doctor, and he's going to subscribe you antibiotics for anything like a sinus infection or anything like that. But we're getting too much antibiotics, and it can create some ailments that are almost immune to antibiotics eventually. So it's better to find natural cures for stuff and utilizing that. In fact, the People's Republic of China, a lot of the herbal remedies and stuff go at least about 10 volumes. At the Casey, most Casey museums, there's one Virginia, just north of Norfolk, Virginia, and there's a new one in Houston, Texas. They cover they have all of his readings out there during his lifetime, and you can actually access them there at the ARE Center, or you can actually buy a DVD set, and whatever your ailment is, like a cold or a flu or whatever, you can use it, and it usually works. Even castor oil stuff, stuff like body aches or hair loss, you can use. He had cures for almost everything. So the cures do work, and if you're members there, you get one of these newsletters, and they do hold conferences. They held one in New Year's, different conferences at their center, but they do also conferences in some of the states, so you can keep up in touch with what's going on out there. John Van Auken is one of the lead Anunnakis out there. He's done a lot of stuff on Egypt recently, and Egypt is pretty important as far as psychic research and all that stuff goes, because it's the origins of witchcraft. Actually, it's symbology and stuff. But the original religion was just the craft, and if it has an extraterrestrial origin, then that's mostly what they believe out there. It became a church. The Vatican just took well, the Egyptians also were they had temples that they had created, so the craft became more like a church, and then the Vatican took a lot of the Christians. King James Bible was borrowed from, some of it was borrowed in Egypt, in different places, and over in Greece when that Bible was put together. But a lot of that was borrowed from Egyptian witchcraft. A lot of their using the candles and stuff is part of the Vatican. I mean, they put candles everywhere. It's still part of their traditional church services. But all that came from Egypt, and a lot of their paintings using gold, that's supposed to represent spiritual maturity. That also is something they borrowed from Egypt. It's not a religion they created. A lot of that was borrowed from different places. They did do trade in Italy, so it's not the only place in the world they went. Greeks were also got some of their ideals. They picked up. They were out there also. They visited Egypt, and some of their. If you want to know who brought witchcraft to Europe, it most likely came from the Greeks. A lot of people think it's the Vatican, but it was actually the Greeks were teaching the barbarians up there, and it eventually became an Orthodox church up there in Russia, which I think recently that they had two different church organizations. It wasn't the Vatican. The Pope went out there to Russia and visited, and their version of the Pope visited and they had a meeting up there. But it's actually two separate church organizations. They never were the same. But that was also the origins of a lot of the craft, as far as what was being taught to the barbarians back in the medieval ages. But you can go to the ARE meetings and stuff if you're close to the center, and pick up herbal remedies, and I think they're doing massages. They have a massage school out there that was started by somebody in New York City, and so they you can actually go there and get a good massage, and plus get information on the herbal remedies and stuff. They also have a meditation room up there. I think the one in Houston too, but the one that I never had visited the one in Houston, but they have one up there in Virginia Beach. That's where the ARE Center's at. Me and my father went up there back in the 70s. Well, actually, it was probably around 1979. And we walked in the room and we got overpowered with energy. But even my father, he was a PhD and was kind of skeptical. But man, we walked in that room, we got overpowered with energy. And he was like, "Dad, do you feel that?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And what it is, a lot of their shamans and stuff were doing deep meditation and stuff, and they were actually, the energy was just actually filling the room, and it stayed there for a while after they'd already left, and you just felt that overwhelming sense of euphoria and energy when you walked in the room. Nothing like it I've ever experienced other than just private meditation sometimes. But it was actually overwhelming. It's similar to, and I've talked about energy as being part of our makeup and stuff. Well, your shamans and stuff can tap into that too. I've tapped into that and actually been able to focus that within my hands in a more different level than what that is. But it's the same thing, similar as to what the total molecular body energy. But you can, you know, if you don't believe that the body is composed of energy, step into that meditation room after the right shaman is left out there, and you will experience that energy. It's really it's something else. There's also a book that you can get out there on Edgar Cayce's on Atlantis, and this one was written by Hugh Glenn, one of his sons, and it's mostly a lot of the Cayce readings on Atlantis, and a lot of that's all we really have as far as other than Plato's description of Atlantis. A lot of the readings talk about some of the different events on it that were going on in Atlantis, and I would question, as you know, is the reasons why they never have found any high tech or anything like that is Atlantis is possibly a ship of some kind that's fairly good size, and it's actually mobile out there in the ocean, and that's what they were utilizing. And so that's, you know, they did archaeological digs different places in the world and stuff, but they never found some of the stuff that Cayce talks about in the readings. One of those is actually the energy converter Cayce talks about, and I've talked about in some of my book reviews and lectures, is that what the advanced civilizations do is all they do is convert energy, and they use it to whatever purpose they want it to. They can use it to control the weather, they can use it to heal with it, they can use it to mold asteroids together and create the moon. So we know that they had an advanced system of using converting energy, but all we had proof of that is the Cayce teachings. Cayce gave a description of Atlantis, and Plato did too, but they've done different archaeological digs and stuff, but they never have found, and I would question as to whether maybe some of the stories that Cayce was getting were actually stories that were having extraterrestrial origin, that were part of a space colony, which is what our origins are right here on the planet Earth. And some of that stuff was actually going on in that space colony. The space colony wasn't a whole lot bigger than Pyongyang, North Korea. They don't use, they don't put a civilization similar to what we had as about the number of people. When you get into higher technology and stuff, it doesn't really create more jobs. A lot of times it just takes away employment and work. So you can take a city like Pyongyang, North Korea, and you can actually, with advanced science, you can run the whole planet's biosphere and everything else, and terraform a whole planet with new plants and stuff just out of a city about the same size as Pyongyang, North Korea, and have spacecraft that you can, you know, run around the planet, and they can use, you know, they can put wildlife out there and stuff, but with their use of energy and stuff, they can actually, you know, they know what types of energy. They got a good source of information. They know what types of wildlife, how many they have out there. They would know how much mammals and stuff are in the ocean, what's the numbers, and you know, that's the kind of good things you can do with energy. Is it can also be a source of information, which is what we've discovered since the 1960s with the information technology age. of computers and stuff is that energy is also information. It's been converted into a PC. So now we've discovered is that we can actually convert household, hook it up to wall socket and convert AC/DC into a computer to hold data for us. So here we are converting energy into information. Well, their usage of energy goes even beyond that. They can actually run the whole planet's biosphere from that. So it's a very advanced science. So it's but the a lot of the KC teachings on Atlantis were just some of the stuff that was going on and what brought about the end of Atlantis. And so talked about that there was 3 destructions of Atlantis. One of them is they had all that they lost some of their technology to a war or something like that. The second phase, they lost about half their technology, and a third destruction, they lost most of it. So, you know, but they never have found, there is the archaeological evidence for high technology is just, they never have found anything or hardly anything on the planet that can do that. I mean, if there's just no, you know, they just never, you know. So I would tend to think that maybe the story came from extraterrestrial sources, and that the story starts out from maybe that we were all in one galaxy. You take all the planets and all the solar systems and combine it in one galaxy. And there's a war or something, and they decide they create Amun Ra, and they decide, well, we're going to break up the galaxy and we're going to convert it to smaller galaxies, and we're all going to live in separate galaxies with one main big galaxy that we'll still use as a home base. And so they get most of the technology, but they don't have all of it anymore. So now they start having problems with all the extraterrestrials living on separate galaxies. And then maybe there's, you know, they fight another war. And with that, they finally lose almost everything, you know. And so we don't know, you know, it's kind of a hidden history. We don't have time travel. And I'm not sure if we did have time travel, whether we're going to get an answer on that as to what the history of the Milky Way galaxy is. All you can do is use data and what we're discovering in, you know, observational research and some of the stuff they're discovering out there in the solar system and stuff, and you put that together, and, you know, it's just little pieces of information here and there, but, you know, it's a possibility. You won't find that in here. It's just a different interpretation of what Casey and John Hugh Lynn interpreted those readings from. But I would suggest that there's a different interpretation. So, yeah, you can pick up this book at the ARE Center or through Amazon.com. There's 2 of them. Hugh Lynn wrote a second one, follow-up to Atlantis. And there's also this is not the full readings on Atlantis. The full readings on Atlantis, I got in a book somewhere around here about this thick, and it's the full book on Atlantis readings. And but you can only get that if you visit the ARE Center. So it's just a continuation of this book. So the you know, you go to the ARE Center, you can pick that book up if you want the full teachings on Atlantis. But, you know, there's different opinions on, you know, in the interpretations, and some of the interpretations of what Hugh Lynn interpreted the Casey readings are a little bit different from what my interpretation of those are. So You know, sometime in the future, maybe, you know, when we finally get visited from extraterrestrials, we'll find out maybe my interpretation is a little bit more correct than what theirs were. But the well, all right. Well, that pretty much covers this broadcast.